What's up, everybody? It's Dinger time. We are Dingers with the Boys. That's Boys with a Z. Follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Twitter. Go check us out. I'm here. I'm Tim. I'm here with, he's got rhythm, he's got style, and he likes to smile. That's right. It's Kyle.
Yo, what up, everybody? Like Tim said, you listen to Dingers with the Boys. Last week, we talked about expansion teams in sports. Talked a little bit about the MLB Hall of Fame. Also recap our picks last week. Tim knocked it out of the park, went 3-0 again. I'm having to catch up. I went 2-1. The Tennessee Notre Dame game. Notre Dame came all the way back from 16, but great picks from him. But yeah, if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go check us out. We had a lot of good things to talk about.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun episode. But we got a treat for you guys today. We got a couple special guests. First of all, we got Nate the Great from Vegas.
Hey, everybody.
And then we got the big fella, Melanie.
Yo.
All right, so we're going to go into the headlines of the week. The big one being Mark Cuban. The big news from him selling majority of his stake in Dallas. He's still going to be the president and still make all basketball operations. But
yeah, with Mark Cuban, it's kind of crazy. I mean, he's been the owner of the Mavs since 2000. He bought them for $285 million. He's selling them for a partial stake, majority stake, a valuation of $3.5 billion, which is insane. But let's see what Mel and Nate think about this. Whichever one of you guys want to go first. What are you kind of thinking?
First of all, hell of an investment by Mark Cuban. That's quite the return on money. And him selling it to some casino moguls to get into Texas is quite crazy.
Yeah, Miriam Adelson is who he's selling it to.
I'd like to see where that goes. If he, I think you were mentioning sometime earlier that they might be putting a casino inside the NBA arena. Is that what you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Mark Cuban a few years ago actually said whenever Dallas gets a new stadium, he wants it to be surrounded by casinos. And it's interesting to me because there's been a lot of talk, and if you listen to the podcast last week, we talked that Vegas is probably going to get an NBA team soon. So my thoughts, honestly, is I think he's kind of stepping back, and he's going to try to do some ownership in Vegas because he's not originally from Dallas. That's where he was with this tech company. He's from Pittsburgh, and he's numerously times he's tried to buy Pittsburgh teams. He tried to buy the Pirates back in 2005, the Penguins back in 2006. So it'd be interesting. I don't think he's really set in Dallas, even though that's kind of what everybody sees him. So it would be interesting to see with Vegas if he wants to kind of go there or if he's really just stepping back.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I mean, Mark Cuban's always been one of those outside-the-box thinkers, and he kind of set a name for himself when he bought the Mavs. And seeing him do something like that, I mean, NBA is the last major league sports team that would come to Las Vegas. All the other slots are filled, right? So it'd be interesting to see what happens. It's a lot of money that he got in return, like Mel said. And bringing something innovative like that to Vegas wouldn't be uncommon of Mark Cuban.
As being a Vegas resident, how do you think the sports teams help or hurt the city?
Well, I have a unique position because I was here before professional sports, and now I'm here during professional sports. It's definitely changed the dynamic of the city. It's brought kind of a community, but when you have new teams come to a city, it's not like being on the East Coast where you have a lot of traditions and large following of fans. So you see a lot of the Raiders games where you're outnumbered by a lot of visiting teams. But this is a tourism town, so you're going to have people coming from all over, and I think that you're always going to have close to sell-out games in a lot of cases, and bringing a basketball team will only help with that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Vegas, like Nate said, is always a tourism part, so you don't really have a lot of fans that are already here that are going to buy tickets and come to games. So you kind of have to rely on that tourism factor for fans of teams coming from wherever they live in the U.S. or even out of the country and wanting to go visit Vegas and on the way kind of see their favorite team. But I think it's probably only helped Vegas as a city. It's already been like a hot tourism spot, but just adding more professional sports, which are so big in the U.S., it's going to add impact. And
yeah, you guys think about how many times you travel for Nuggets games,
For sure.
Go out-of-state games, you want to go to Phoenix, you want to go see a home Nuggets game in Vegas, it's different feel when you're making choices on your traveling.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's interesting to me that Cuban did sell to her because Miriam Adelson is the majority owner of the Las Vegas Sands, which is actually interesting because only their headquarters is in Las Vegas. All the rest of them are out in Asia, I believe, is what all the stuff that they own. And she actually sold $2 billion worth of her stock, which is actually about only 10% of her stock to fund this. It's kind of crazy because I think, within a few years, like we were saying, that Vegas is going to get an expansion team, and it's like, why wouldn't she just wait for that? Because I'm sure she would be one of the front runners for that for sure. I also think like Mark Cuban, it kind of came out of nowhere, and he also said that he is quitting Shark Tank after next season, and a lot of people are thinking that it could be because he would do a presidential run in 2024. However, he has said that he's not going to, and back in July he said that his family would disown him if he went for it in 2024. But Miriam Adelson is a big Republican supporter, so I was thinking that maybe something could be with that she like sold the team, and like maybe she'll support him as well. But it's definitely an interesting thing to see with Mark Cuban. But keep talking about Vegas. Nate being the local, what are some of your favorite parts of Vegas? I know me, Mel, and Kyle have a few things, but just being a local and being here for so many years, seeing how Vegas has changed, what would your company, like some of your top things be that you would say in Vegas?
I mean, the biggest thing now is really the sports element. That draw for these big events. I mean, going to the Pac-12 Championship, we have bowl games, that have always been here, but it's a different feel with the Legion. Now having the Super Bowl coming this year to Vegas, I think having just that pull, and even with the F1, just these big events that now come to Las Vegas and have the opportunity, whether you go or not, and even I took the kids to the draft, right? It's just having that feel of the city and that vibe, and the opportunity for these big events to come all the time, I think is just really a cool feature of the city now.
Yeah, that's great. Mel, what do you think?
I enjoy the Willy Wonka slot machine.
Doobity-doo.
And I keep winning on that, so that's just my favorite part. And it's in several casinos.
That Oompa Loompa feature
Yeah.
has got you going.
The Oompa Loompas and the pouring into the jars gets me too.
For me, I've been to Vegas a lot just to visit, and I love Vegas. Definitely thought about moving here when I was younger. Looking back, I'm kind of glad I didn't, just because I think after a while, if you don't want to go down to the Strip, it could be rough to live here. However, we went to the Mob Museum, which I thought was awesome. It was so cool. If you haven't done that, go check that out. I also like the hiking up in Icebox Canyon. I've done that a couple times. Just to, like you were saying, the sporting events too. We're big sports guys, so any sporting event doesn't have to be necessarily Nuggets or Denver sports, but just any of that. And I kind of like where you can always find something to do, especially if you're on the Strip. But it's just kind of a fun area for sure, especially if you're downtown and want to have a good time. You can definitely find it.
Yeah, those are always really fun. My favorite thing to do here is definitely all the shows. I mean, I was a big fan of America's Got Talent, and, the winners always usually get shows down here, and there's just so many amazing, talented people down here. The other night, we actually went to Penn and Teller. They've been around forever, so it was really awesome to see them never really seen a magic show before, and they were hilarious as well. So if you ever do come down to Vegas, definitely you can check out them or any of the other hundreds or however many shows they have down here, because they're all amazing, and that's definitely my favorite part. That's something you can never get in Colorado, where we're from, and it's so entertaining and so worth it every single time.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Just a show draw. I mean, even tonight, who's coming? We saw Adam Sandler's going to be here. You get a lot of draw even outside of the sporting events, just in a lot of that.
Yeah, and then you have all the concerts that come here. There's just so many people that want to come to Vegas to perform, and it's always so much fun.
Yeah. If you guys could pick one person, say money wasn't an option or object, and they were in Vegas, who would you guys pick to like be able to see? Say like I don't know, Nate, you probably know a little bit more where the big places are, but I know Mandalay Bay has like a big thing. Say like they're at the biggest thing, you could sit wherever you wanted or whatever. Money's not an object. Who would you guys want to see as like a performer? Maybe not necessarily as like a band, but maybe like a comedian, or I guess you could say a singer or something, or like Circus du Soleil or whatever. What would you guys think?
I'm kind of a sucker for magic, so I keep seeing these Shinlin advertisements on there. He was on America's Got Talent.
Yep.
He's also on Penn and Teller's Fool Me.
Yeah.
And he's insane. He's probably the best sleight of hand magic guy in the business, and he actually injured his hand and had to like relearn how to do all his tricks.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so that one's an interesting one to go to for me.
The magic is just so crazy. Even like when you think you're like, oh, this is simple, like I know how to do this, and then there's like a twist, and you're just like,
how the heck
what
did he
in
do
the
that?
world, But that's definitely a good choice.
I think for me, personally, I'd like to just see maybe like, I don't know. There's so many, like, it's such a tough question because there's so many good people. I did see like Morgan Wallen. He's coming, and I think he would be really cool. I'm a big country artist fan. Definitely listen to a lot of his music, so I think he would be pretty cool to see. I think he can get a pretty good crowd, and it would be pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean, live music, you can't go wrong, even magic. I mean, I've been fortunate to see a lot of my favorite artists in live events, but really just seeing, I mean, definitely country. I'm a huge country fan too, and between country and magic, that's be my top picks.
That's how I think I'm kind of more magic too, because a lot of the times you can see those country artists, you can see those comedians, just different stuff in different parts of the world. Like Adam Sandler, me and Kyle are going to be going in a couple weeks. He's coming to Denver. He's also coming here. He's in Vegas as well. But you don't really get to see as many magicians, at least those big magicians. I know David Copperfield's been around a long time, but I think he would be really cool to see. Chris Angel, some of the stuff that he does is like crazy, and you really don't see him unless you're in Vegas. And so I think for me, it's definitely those magicians. I think it just something about Vegas like draws it, and might be those like the sleight of hand and different stuff that's kind of like people started gambling, doing different stuff like that, and so maybe that's why they brought it to Vegas.
I think it's also just like watching a magician in person is so much more fun, because you can watch them on TV or on a show or whatever, and you can't really like, it's so much different because in person you can like focus and be like, all right, I'm gonna try to figure out how he does it, and then they just blow your mind and do the trick, and you're just left there like jaw dropped and like, man, I just witnessed this in person, and they just absolutely blew my mind on a trick that seems so simple to them.
Oh, for sure. And that's like you were saying, actually, when we left Penn and Teller, you're like, part of me wants to Google and look up how they do it.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you don't want to.
Yeah.
We got a write-in request from our live audience also that Kevin Hart was a big one that the audience members would like to see. It seemed like it was a consensus, by the way.
Kevin Hart, I would love to see Kevin Hart. I've seen him in Denver, but I feel like the performers too, when they're in Vegas, they kind of probably like step up their game even. They just like, hey, this is the big leagues. They know what to do and stuff. And so Kevin Hart would be great to see as well. He's so funny. Love his Netflix specials and everything. But we're going to take a break here, hear a word from our sponsor, and we'll come back, talk about all of our Pac-12 Championship, just what we thought about the game. We all went to the game, what we think. So we'll be back here in a few minutes.
You're doing Christmas shopping and you're stuck in a lurch. Come on down to Colorado Hat and check out our merch. Colorado Hat Company, located at Colorado Mills Mall. Tell them the Dingers sent you.
What's up, everybody? We're back. We're the Dingers with the Boyz. That's Boyz with a Z. Definitely go check out our sponsor over at Colorado Mills Mall. They're awesome. Tell them the Dingers sent you. We are here with Mel, Nate, and Kyle.
Yo, what's up? So the biggest reason why we came to Vegas is we went to the Pac-12 Championship last night. It was epic. It was awesome. But Mel, why don't you start us off? What did you think of it?
Not how I thought the game was going to go. I came in thinking that Oregon was going to literally obliterate Washington. I thought it was going to be more than the spread. I think Oregon was favored by 9.5. And just the way Washington's been playing, the way Oregon's been playing, just really thought it was going to be way different. Their defense has been crazy strong. They've been averaging 16 points the last 5 games, giving up. And then Washington's just been struggling with every team they've run into. It's been a close game every single time. And I think that closeness with the games for Washington really gave them a lot of experience for this game. They came out guns a-firing. Their offense was moving with like there was no defense on the field. It was crazy to watch.
Like you said, it was like Washington, they've been in close games, and they just find a way to win. Yep. Even last week, they were playing, and it's like, oh, they're not going to win. Like, we're watching the game, and they're not going to win. It's not going to – I mean, yeah, the Pac-12 Championship still is going to be a big deal, but it definitely would lose a little bit. But then they find a way to win. And, yeah, Oregon almost came out like they knew they were the favors. They didn't expect Washington to really do anything. They just, like – it was weird. Like, the first quarter at least just seemed like, oh, no, we got this. We don't really need to do anything. And they found themselves down 20-3.
Yeah, it definitely started off as a slow game. As the game progressed, when it started getting to the fourth quarter, you could see, just watching both sidelines on the TV breaks, that Washington team rallied together. Like, you could just tell they were ready to win. You know, being a fan of the Steelers that are a kind of play under the gun, comeback team, you know, you could see that in Washington. And I'm glad it was close. Definitely shocked. I'm kind of with Mel. I thought Oregon was going to win, but optimistically rooting for Washington, but it ended up being a great game.
I think the atmosphere definitely helped as well. I mean, it seemed like there was a lot more Oregon fans there, but man, Washington fans are loud.
Yeah.
Like, we were sitting on the Washington side, so maybe it was just because of that, but it was
Go Dogs!
very, very, very loud in there. So I think it definitely played off of that. I mean, Penix Jr., he said at the end of the game that their team just has so much maturity, and so I think that was they could band together, and in these like close games, in these big matchups, they're able to kind of use each other to win.
I think they took that point spread too. They took that personal for sure.
Yeah.
Like, man, we're undefeated. We've already beat them this season. How are we that big of an underdog? Is it Penix or Penix?
It's definitely Penix.
Okay, that's what I thought it was Penix.
You might actually have to make this an explicit YouTube.
Yeah, there were some interesting memes and signs of the game last night with that guy's name.
For sure. He's got a crazy story. He tore his ACL in 2018, and then in 2019 he had season-ending stereoclavicular joint injury. Not sure exactly what that was,
Close
but
enough.
Yeah, something like that. It ended his season, whatever it was. In 2020, he tore his ACL again. And 2021, he comes and he has season-ending AC joint injury. So to come back from all those injuries, I know he considered retiring, but transferred to Washington instead. Came out last year, went 11-2 as the starter, 13-0 this year. Has a really good chance for the Heisman. He definitely turned out when they needed him.
Yeah, after this game, before the game, Bo Nix is probably your favorite for the Heisman. He played like donkey crap. Definitely the first half of the game. Second half, he picked it up quite a bit.
Yeah, that second half he stepped up for sure.
Yeah, definitely still a weird thrower. But Michael Penix Jr., I think he's now the favorite. I think he looked amazing. He still threw a terrible pick. But Bo Nix followed him right up with another one. Yep. So it's just definitely an interesting Heisman race. And you also got Marvin Harrison Jr. just kind of chilling in the back going, I got you guys.
Yeah.
So,
Bo Nix, that first pass of the game, he threw it right at the ref.
Yeah.
That was just right from there, it was kind of man, what the heck are these guys doing?
There's a lot of plays that Washington, some of those downs, man, they could have went either way. I mean, they really executed plays. I mean, there were some incredible catches, and that quarterback, he had some balls. He definitely let it sling last night.
Yeah, he had 319 yards. He ended up finishing 1 touchdown with 1 pick, but he definitely, there was a couple that you thought he was going to get sacked, and then somehow comes out of it. He was only sacked twice, so not too bad with how many times he could have gotten sacked.
Yeah, after the first quarter, Washington outgained Oregon 117-9.
Wow.
Yes, and Bo Nix was 1 of 5 for 8 yards, and then they had 1 yard rushing. Washington literally just dominated them in the first quarter.
It didn't even seem like that at the start because Washington did get the ball first, and they were marching down the field pretty well, and then they just kind of got halted near the red zone and ended up having to settle for 3. So you kind of look at that and be like, all right, it looked like Washington was just going to come in, guns blazing, score a touchdown right away, but you had to settle for a field goal. That's definitely a win for Oregon, and definitely had to be proud about that. But then you come out on offense and just quick 3 and out and punt it. I was definitely gave the momentum back straight away to Washington. They came back and ended up scoring a touchdown.
It was crazy. Washington's defense definitely stepped up there in that first quarter. Like you said, they had that 3 and out, and then at the end of the second quarter, early third, it was kind of they almost just disappeared. Bo Nix was pretty much doing whatever he wanted there for a while, and they came back and took the lead, actually.
In the second quarter, Bo Nix, at the end of it, he was 12 of 19 for 117 yards. So,
wow,
and a touchdown.
Picked it up.
Yep. So he picked it up big time there. They didn't have any rushing still. They only had 12 yards of rushing, so they only gained 11 after that. Just crazy. And after that first possession for Oregon, I'm pretty sure right before it started, I looked at Kyle and said, this is going to be a quick score for Oregon. I thought they were just going to, I think you said you're going to bomb it. And
yeah, I was thinking it's going to be a deep shot down the field, first play of the game, just try to catch defense sleeping, maybe not paying attention straight, first play of the game. But no, I think they just took it was a little in route that, Bo Nix hit the referee on. So it kind of just set the tone early on, and then they got the 3 and out, and then Oregon basically was playing catch up for the rest of the first half into that third quarter.
At the end, it was kind of crazy. Bo Nix, we were saying, he kind of had a rough game, but there was that long touchdown at the end to Trayshawn Holden for 63 yards. That was his only catch. But other than that, his receivers really didn't have that much yardage either. Even that was only his 1 catch. They just didn't it seemed like Washington really dominated them, even though they only won by 3. What do you guys do? You think Penix should have won the MVP? Because I actually don't. Of that, I think Dylan Johnson, their running back, I think he had an amazing game. He had 28 carries, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he actually passed it twice, a couple shovels, and with a touchdown as well. So he had 1 throwing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, and I think he just tore apart Oregon's defense.
Ultimately, it just doesn't matter. Conference championship MVPs don't matter. I mean, in my opinion, the Heisman doesn't matter either. But
well, there goes Mel for the week. He's gone.
And quarterbacks naturally have that bias when it comes to MVPs, kind of the captain of the offense. And,
Yeah. A lot of people think, all right, he wouldn't have got those touchdowns if it wasn't for the quarterback. He drove the offense down the field. I think that kind of natural bias kind of came into the MVP. Maybe like just him as a leader as well. Because, I mean, they did go down. Oregon did score. And easily, Washington could have just kind of folded. They're like, all right, they took the lead and came out flat. And they could have just kind of gone from there. And Oregon could have taken it over. But no, instead, Washington came straight back, scored a touchdown of themselves to go back up. So I think he got the MVP mostly for his leadership, and he did still have a pretty good game. Over 300 yards was really good. He did throw a touchdown, did throw that pick, but so did Bo Nix.
Yeah. Nate, I know you went to the Pac-12 Championship a couple of years ago. I believe it was Utah and Oregon, and Utah routed them. What did you think compared to that game to this game? Did you think like the atmosphere was better? Did you think it was similar? I know that was the first Pac-12 Championship in Vegas. So what did you think? I know this game overall between the two teams was definitely had bigger complications than that one at the time. But what did you think compared to the two?
The atmospheres of these kind of games are pretty similar, but I think that the difference in this game was when the game ended. We're walking out of that stadium realizing that this is the last Pac-12 championship ever. And I think it was fitting also. I think, Pac-12 started as Pacific Coast Conference in 1915, right? Oregon and Washington were one of the first teams of that conference in 1915, and I think finishing it with these two teams was very fitting. And you can just hear, and just the fans leaving when that realization that this conference is over. I think that was a big, big difference on this game, and it was more sentimental than most championship games.
Yeah, I remember walking out, and a couple people were talking about that, and Washington and Oregon fans, they were just like, it was almost like somber a little bit, they were just like sad. And
not that one girl.
Yeah, there was definitely one girl that she had some choice words.
She was
was a little angry.
But yeah, you definitely heard the saying, and just like that, the Pac-12 is gone. It's no more. And all the Washington fans were like, oh yeah, what a way to go. Like, what a way to end it. But
it is different for us because we're, being Buffs fan. I mean, I'm a Buff fan myself. Kind of joining Pac-12 late. What was it, 2011? We didn't really have that Pac-12 feel, historically, right? So it'd be different if it was Colorado or somebody else in compared to Washington and Oregon, who just had this rivalry for so many years.
Yeah, I mean, I wish the Buffs definitely would have won. They did make the championship one year. They got slaughtered, but at least they made it. But yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal, I guess. And like you said, it was 2011 when they joined, and it's just, I don't know, it wasn't that big of a deal. Since the Pac-12 actually has been the Pac-12 since 2011, it was kind of crazy. Oregon has the most wins, and now after last night they're 4-2. But Washington is the only undefeated team in the championship. They've been there 3 times. They've won 3 times. So that's kind of cool to see. I do think it would have been cool to see if Oregon would have won because they won the first one, and then if they could have won the last one, they could have brought it in and left it. But yeah, it would have been interesting. What do you guys think of the stadium? I know this was Mel and Kyle's first time at the stadium. I know we were walking around, and you guys were making a couple comments as we were walking around. But what do you guys think?
Outside the stadium, top notch. Black is an interesting color in the desert, but seems to work out. Sticks out quite nicely and looks nice on the outside. Inside where the seating is, I thought that's probably one of the best stadiums in the country. We went to the SEC Championship last year with Atlanta, and that one's definitely very interesting with the cool...
And it's like the circle screen kind of thing.
I have a couple of other choice words, but we'll keep it clean. But inside the stadium was nice. I thought the concourses were a bit tight, which is an odd decision for a brand new stadium. Usually you want to go wider.
Especially on the sides. It almost felt you were just like closed in, and it was like concrete on each side. And yeah, they have pictures and stuff, but it was just like, man, like give us an extra few feet and open it up a little bit, you know? On both ends it was cool. I loved where, I don't even know what they call it, but the Raider flame. Yeah. I think that's awesome. That's really cool. With the strip in the background, especially at night, that is just awesome.
Yeah, top-notch location for sure.
I think it was pretty cool. One thing I liked about it was the food was amazing, and there's tons of like food stands or like places you can get food in every single level of the stadium. So wherever your seat is, you can kind of just get whatever you want. I don't like the stadiums where it's like, all right, you have to go down the escalator, down the stairs, just to go to like this one food place, and you kind of have to walk all around the stadium to get it. So I thought that was kind of cool. You could, where we were seated, we could just walk out, and we're actually ended up getting food was kind of just down the way. So that was definitely cool. The atmosphere being in a dome, I think just makes it so much cooler. It sounds so much louder, sounds so much more intense, and you're not freezing cold. Like that's the biggest complaint I have when watching football, especially like maybe it's just being from Colorado, but it's so cold because they play in like November, December in the winter months. So a dome, you don't have to worry about that. You can come in a t-shirt and shorts and you'll be fine. Like
I'm a huge supporter of the dome. Walton family, if you're listening, go ahead and do a dome in Denver because that's awesome. I'm with you on that. The dome and everything is so cool. The atmosphere was awesome, and yeah, like you said, the food. Me and Mel had these steak sandwiches that were just delicious, and I know you can find certain things everywhere, but that was definitely like really good.
That's not a third level type of food for sure.
Yeah, you're thinking that you're going to see that on like club level or something like that more for sure. Nate, I know you've been there a few times, but you've been to a few different stadiums across the nation as well. What do you think of the stadium in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I like the domes, but I'm also kind of an old school guy. I like that outdoor atmosphere feel, going to Pittsburgh, watching games, even Denver. The cold definitely is a challenge, but I don't know. I like that rough, natural feeling of watching a football game and the conditions.
It's funny, those like, especially people that really played football growing up and like were really into it. They're like, no, I want it to snow. I want it to be cold. And me as a fan, like, I played a little football, but me as a fan, like, no, I'm good. I want it to be 80 degrees and watching you play or whatever.
Yeah, you're having to sit there with your blankets and your hand warmers and toe warmers and
freezing your
hat
butt
and
off.
Glove and
feel the pain with the players.
Basically have to go to the bathroom to warm up. And
I don't know. I really enjoy the cold games myself. I've gone to Green Bay on Christmas Day, and it's like -5 degrees outside, and they have metal bleachers, and you're just like, that's not bad. I don't know. There's some Pittsburgh and Green Bay fans that are just going, you idiots.
I bet out of the four of us, you guys can't guess who played football in high school. Obviously, me and Kyle definitely did not.
Nope.
I think that's why I like basketball so much, because, all right, I can be cold walking in, but then I'm like, all right, I can just watch and I can do it in shorts even and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I never got the understanding of the cold as much, but...
So one thing that I thought was cool about the Pac-12 Championship, I know, like, when we bought the tickets, us being Buffs fans, we were hoping that the Buffs would be in it, but technically the Buffs didn't. They did win something yesterday. They had a mascot race, and Chip, the mascot for the Buffs, came out victorious.
Came through.
The wheelbarrow race.
It was funny, like me and Tim, we started going crazy, yelling for Chip as soon as he won, and he won by a landslide. It was awesome to see.
I forgot we were gonna bring this up. When you said technically, I'm like, no, they just did not make the game. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It was funny that none of the other mascots were with him too, so he had to do the like sponsorship mascot.
Yeah.
and then he won. That made it even better. It was great.
Next
And
year.
it was also funny. Oregon and Washington, they paired up, but they ended up just kind of wrestling and like fighting in the end zone.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny to see.
I think everybody around us were like, "Why are these guys cheering?"
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, man, it's Chip, you know.
Yeah.
And I had my CU socks on. Kyle had his CU hat on, and
Yeah.
we definitely every single time anything with Colorado or the Buffs came up, we were definitely.
Oh yeah, we were cheering. We found a few CU Bus fans walking out and chatted with them and kind of laughed about it, but it was kind of cool to see at the Pac-12 Championship. It wasn't just all Oregon and all Oregon and all Washington. There was fans from literally everywhere, and doesn't matter who their team was. They just wanted to kind of represent their team and enjoy a good football game. But
Well, since we're talking about Colorado, I mean, how do you guys feel? I mean, I'm a little bit older, so I was in the glory days of the old Colorado teams, you know, when they were in the conference. Now going back, I mean, going back to the roots a little bit, you know.
I remember when I was little, and Kyle, you probably don't remember this at all. I don't even know if you were born, but it was I was like 3 or 4, and yeah, CU was like awesome. Like they were like great and stuff, and ever since, I mean, we made the top 25 a couple times, but I think it was kind of fluke-esque, honestly. I think their basketball team is definitely stepping up, but I think it's just like, I mean, we only won 4 games, but just the excitement. I went to a game. I went to the Stanford game, which let's not talk about that because that was a rough game. But just the excitement that Prime's brought here, even if we're losing, it's just like, man, it's so fun.
Yeah.
It's being in Colorado. It was almost, it kind of reminded me of Tebow mania in a way, which is insane. And now it's like, man, everybody wants to see the Buffs. I mean, we were on national TV a few times, and even when we're losing, like, we got celebrities coming, and it's just, man, it was so fun to be a Buff fan this year. Like I said, even if we were losing, it brought excitement back to Colorado.
yeah, it was kind of funny because we went to games before Prime and stands are empty, and it didn't even seem like people wanted to be there. But now since Prime came, yeah, it just added the excitement back. And yeah, even though the season didn't end up how we wanted it to, it's still like so much better than it was last year and the year before. And we've just been so bad for so long, kind of, that it's just nice to see that, hey, there's life now.
You can feel that change is coming in the right direction.
Oh, for sure.
Devil's advocate, I think Prime has some work to do.
He definitely does. I think it's a lot harder than he expected it to be, but I think that's why he picked Colorado. He wanted a challenge. He wanted to kind of prove to himself maybe of what he can do for a college organization, and he wants players that wants that same fight and wants that same drive. So I think he definitely has his work cut out for him, but I think he's the man for the job.
You know, watching the process through the year, like I took my daughters out to go see the Colorado State game, and, you know, things started going downhill after that game. But, you know, you watch some of the things that you see on YouTube, or you know, he's always out there in public, right? You see him on every commercial, but you start seeing moments like the 76ers team coming to Boulder. You wonder if some of that separation from that team had an effect on the players as far as dedication, that camaraderie, like, you're my coach, like, you're still doing all these other things. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think that coming in new, you know, did he spread him out himself too thin in certain moments? And did that cause some of the maybe disconnect with the players and not really have that, hey, let's go hit this season and keep doing what we're doing, right?
Yeah, he definitely is always around. I've went to quite a bit of basketball games, and more times than not, he's at the men's basketball games. He goes to the women's basketball games. His daughter, I know she's on the team. She doesn't really play right now, but
Yeah, he was at the
possibly
Cowboys
next
game we
year.
just saw on
Yeah.
Thursday too, right?
Yeah, like you said, maybe he is spreading himself a little too thin, and so maybe next year he'll kind of like look into that and say like, hey, all right, I got to do something different.
Yeah, just looking at the recruiting rankings right now, they're 45th out of all the teams. You're in the realm of Duke, Vanderbilt, UCLA, Maryland, Illinois.
It's funny because that's not like great, but for CU, especially after the last 20 years, I'm like,
That's great.
yeah, that's awesome, man. You know, I mean, I know it's not top 10 or anything, but I'm interested to see what it was 2 years ago. Probably like 120th or whatever. You know, it was like, man, that's a huge step forward. Especially you only win 4 games, so going that high compared to like what it was, and it's definitely like the prime effect. So, and like you said, Mel, I do think that there is work to do, but it's just exciting that we're actually doing the work. Like before, where it's like, oh, hey, there's work to do. Nah, let's just win one game again. You know.
Well, and you're starting to see little changes, right? Like he's bringing a different element to recruiting to Colorado that they never really had before. And you go back to even Oregon, the team we just watched. You know, in 1999 when they started doing partner with Nike, the uniforms, like created this trend, buzz, you know, being different, and you know, you see their records after that started their recruiting efforts, you know, started changing because they were the cool team on the block, right? Colorado had a small element of that for a little while, and you know, can he still harness that and create a new culture in Colorado that we haven't had for a while?
Yeah, it's an exciting time for sure. But
a new culture leads to new money too.
Yep, absolutely.
You can see that they're getting a new scoreboard next year, so you can already see
Way
that it's
overdue.
definitely already the money has begun.
Yeah.
And
I was going to
money
need
is
more
king.
than my eyeglasses to see that current scoreboard. So thank God.
Yeah, I actually wish they were making it bigger than what they even are projected to do. I wish it was like the entire thing. I don't know. I
ain't
just
got
like the
that
bigger
SEC
the
money
better.
yet.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe in a few years. You know, you never know.
All right, so we want to get into our game picks for the week. We've got 3 games for you, and we'll try to just go around the room, person to person, on who they think is going to win. So, first game, we're going to go Army versus Navy. Nate, who you got?
You know, it's a toss-up for me on this one. I'm going to go with Army. You know, these games are always close and low scoring, so I'm just taking a shot on Army on this game.
For me, I will never pick Army. I will always say go Navy, beat Army. Both my parents are in the Navy, so, and both my grandparents. So, I hope they beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, for me, like Nate said, these games are always so close. It doesn't matter if one team's a lot better than the other or whatever. These games are just so close. It's fun. It's kind of crazy to me that Army's quarterback Daly, he obviously leads the team in passing. He has 6 touchdowns, only 859 yards in the air. However, he has 817 yards on the ground for 7 touchdowns, and he leads the team as well. So that's just kind of cool. I know that's kind of what they're known for, more those options and stuff. But this was a tough one for me, and I know Kyle's going to pick Army. I just know he already is. He was in the Army. And I like to pick different from Kyle sometimes, but I'm going to go with Army. I think it's going to be a close one. I think Army's going to take it.
Yeah, like Tim said, I served in the Army for 6 years, so there's no chance I can take Navy. I think Army, it's always fun to watch. They have like a wildcat offense, just run the ball every single play, basically. So I'm going to go Army as well. For our next game,
Can I ask a question on this game?
Yeah.
Are they going to break the streak of 16 straight games hitting the under? Is that what that under go to?
It was
You
the
started
under,
at 32 and now it's
under
at what?
right now is at 28.5.
28 and a half.
I think they continue to go under.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very run heavy and maybe only 2 touchdowns.
I'm thinking like a 10-13 game or something
Yeah.
like that. So I think it'll be under as well.
I have no reason to disagree.
Yep.
All right, our next pick.
I
we're
thought you
gonna
said
go-
Navy was going to whoop them.
Whooping
Or
an Army Navy.
it's 10-13.
All right, our next pick, we're going to go Boston versus Indiana. Going NBA in-season tournament. It's the first games of the knockout rounds. Indiana being the home team, they were 4-0 in the group stage. Nate, who do you got?
I'm going to go with the hot hand with the Pacers. I think it's going to be a close game, but I'm going to give the edge to the Pacers on this one.
I just have to go Boston.
No. This was a tough one. Boston and Indiana, they're two great teams. Indiana definitely has the better jerseys in the in-season tournament, so that you have to factor that in for
Better
sure.
court.
Yeah, better court. I think the way Halliburton's playing right now is he's playing so great. However, I am going to take Boston. I think their defense is just going to step up. They have such an amazing defense, and if Tatum and Brown and Porzingis and Derek White, they all play, and Drew Holiday, they all play good, I think Boston's going to take it.
I actually think this game is going to come down to shooting. Both teams shoot tons of threes. Boston, a ton. Indiana, a ton. They both have tremendous shooters on both ends of the court. So I actually think I'm going to go the home team as well. I'm going to go the Pacers. They keep on just being impressive. They run a little bit faster. So I think if they can control the pace and they can control the tempo, I think they can make the shots, score in transition, and I think they can win. So I'm going to go hopefully gain a game on Tim as well, but I'm going to go with Indiana.
We all know that's not happening.
For the third game, we're going to stick to the NBA in-season tournament. We're going to go the Phoenix Suns versus Lakers. Again, Lakers having the highest point differential, them also ending 4-0 in the group stage. But Nate, who do you got in that one?
I mean, it's hard to root against the Lakers at home, but I'm going to pick the Suns in this game.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at it right now, and I don't think I can pick the Lakers. I think they just match up kind of nicely with the Lakers, so I'm going to go Suns.
Yeah. They're playing for a money game, right? So
Yeah.
Lakers got those big salaries. It might be a little extra incentive for these Suns to.
I'm actually going Lakers. I think LeBron, he steps up in big games, and I don't think anybody can stop him on the Suns, honestly. And I know Devin Booker, there's a chance he might not play. I know Bradley Beal's out. Durant, I mean, I know he's a great player, but I just don't see him going over LeBron and Anthony Davis. Yeah, I couldn't think of it. I know Nurkic is down there, and he's been playing great with the Suns, but I'm going to go with the Lakers. I think they have a very good chance of actually winning the whole tournament, and so I'm going with the Lakers.
I'm going to go Lakers as well. I think LeBron is definitely motivated on winning the tournament, not necessarily for himself, but I think he's playing for his teammates, the teammates that maybe don't make as much for him, but you can kind of see that when he gets interviewed after games and stuff, that he wants to win this for his team. And it's the very first in-season tournament. He's so amazing to watch, and I think it would be pretty cool to see him winning the first ever one. I think the Lakers do have a chance to win the tournament. I think they easily beat Suns.
Worth noting that both teams have 2 days of rest after today going into the game.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually hate the Lakers. I'm not a Lakers fan at all. I am a LeBron fan, but I do not like the Lakers. So I'd actually rather the Lakers lose, but I don't really want the Suns to win either, so I don't want them. So I want both them to lose, but we'll see.
When you said big game earlier, I'm like, well, they had a big game against the Nuggets on opening night, and it still didn't pull through. So.
Yeah, the Nuggets are studs. We just didn't really want to win the tournament, I got a feeling. Jokic was like, I've done too much, so that's the only reason why we're not in it, I got a feeling.
All right, so those were our picks. Maybe let us know in the comments who you guys would pick. Going into that, I do have 2 players highlighted for this week. My first one being a Denver guy. I'm going MPJ. It definitely
Mike!
Yep, that's the guy. Definitely seems like he's picked it up this year. And a few really staggering stats that I found. Nuggets this year are 5-2 when he gets 10 plus boards. And they're also 11-0 when he gets 2+ assists. There's this running rumor that MPJ never likes to pass, but me, is kind of telling people wrong on that. And Nuggets do so much better when he is looking for passes and he is getting his teammates involved. Although it may not be as much, but it's not going to be as much as Jamal Murray and Jokic, but he can still be a facilitator, still can like make some really good passes, and especially with Jamal Murray being kind of injured and AG being more injured than I originally thought, I think MPJ is that next guy up and definitely steps in and helps Nuggets win. And then my second player is not necessarily a player, but a team of players. I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. I mean, they're on a 5-game winning streak, and they have a very favorable schedule the rest of the way. They play Houston on Sunday, and then they play the Chargers twice. In the rest of the season, they'll play the Raiders, they play the Patriots, and then Detroit. I think of those remaining games, they definitely have the capability of winning a lot of them to keep on pushing to the playoffs. Their defense has really stepped up. They've had 16 turnovers in the 5-game winning streak, so I think they continue to play at a high level, and I think they can get some wins.
Yeah, they have a huge opportunity right now to make a splash, turn that season around.
Let's ride.
Yep.
Get your high knees going, people.
Well, before we close it out, do you guys have anything else that you'd like to say?
Just want to point out that wasn't a player, Kyle.
I did say
Literally a team.
it's not a player. It's a team. I'm highlighting the whole team, but
A team of players.
yes,
As you
a
said.
team of players.
Nate, you got anything?
No, I just appreciate being one of the first 2 guests on the
Yeah, it was-
podcast. Hopefully it's the first of many.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you guys so much. It was awesome taking time out of your day. Join us here in Vegas for the Pac-12 Championship. It was such a blast these last few days.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys again being on the show. It was a ton of fun hanging out with you guys this whole weekend. Like Tim said, going to the Pac-12 Championship. Hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Yep. All right, well, we will see you later, alligators. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Spotify, YouTube, Dingers with the Boys, Boys with a Z, TK Dingers on Twitter. Definitely tell all your family, friends, but we will see you later.
Peace.
Peace.
Let's go!
Woo woo.